Wednesday, January 16th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is the Geeknights. Tonight, for the first time in a long time, we review some freaking anime.
Let's do this. I get to work this morning. Do my normal work thing, right? It's Wednesday. This breakfast, I get me a bagel. Of course, I was a little slow on the bagel action, so I actually got like one of the last bagels. I took this poppy seed bagel that was looking kind of haggard, and the only other bagels left in there were like this salt bagel and these sort of...
Nobody likes the salt bagel.
And like these brown bagels that were obviously...
wheat?
I don't know. It might have been like, I think it was like a pumpernickel bagel or something.
That sounds really good.
It was not popular.
That's just because people don't understand.
No. So I toast my second-rate poppy seed bagel. I go back. I need a beverage. You know, I just drank some orangey, but I still need something to wash the bagel down. You drink the orangey before the bagel. So I go to get some water. And now the water cooler at our work doesn't actually get water in it. Well, it does, but you don't have to put the stupid bottles.
The water cooler doesn't have water.
No, you don't have to put the stupid bottles in it. It's hooked up to the tap and has a filtered tank in it, and you just put your cup under it, you push the button, and you're good to go. Or you put your Nalgene in, you push the button, and water comes out.
All right.
And it's cold, and it's from the tap, and it's New York, so it doesn't matter, right? I go to push the button, and for the first time ever, nothing comes out. So I'm like, huh.
You know, that's a really unexpected... I mean, there have been a couple of times in my life where I turn on a faucet and nothing comes out, but the thing is, usually when that happens, if it's not through, like if it's a normal faucet, if there isn't water there, instead of water, you get possibly some brown sludge, but usually a horrible banging noise.
Yeah. No, it just kind of whirred, a little, compressor in there, I guess, whirred a bit, and nothing came out. So I said, So I'm just like, fuck it, and I go sit down again. And then there's an email a little while later, like, yeah, we have no water.
That's what you get for having some old building.
There was like a broken water main on everything in the city. Is always, it's never the building. It's always something happened on some street somewhere. It's like water main broke on X street, telephone switch broke on Y street. You know. But anyway, a water main broke on some street, so we didn't have water. I think the 12th floor had water, and
probably maybe because
we're on the second floor. So
there's a tank at the top of the building.
Yeah, so we had to go like 10 floors up if you needed to pee. Which
there's been some scary stories about those tanks because usually no one maintains them, and there's been some interesting things found floating in them.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
But I did not go to the 12th floor. I held it in.
Oh, not like in that movie?
No.
Or that short?
I didn't need to go that bad anyway. But my coworker, right? So normally it sucks. If electricity goes out, you can go home. But if water goes out, you got to stay, right? So my coworker...
Man, water was the only thing that ever made our IT shut down.
I know, right?
9/11, we're going. 12 feet of snow, that's fine. No water, send the kids home.
Yep. But then my coworker, he was getting pretty pissed. He was going to go out to like a restaurant to pee or something. But then his computer stops working. Like, I think his power supply died. Pretty sure. That's the current diagnosis.
I think it's obvious that he sabotaged it so he could go home.
And the other coworker whose job it is to fix that, sick today. So he just went home. No, it was actually broken. I checked it.
Oh, no, I'm not doubting that it was broken. I'm wondering how it came to be broken.
He didn't sabotage it. Trust me.
Sure there wasn't a paperclip sticking out?
I checked it. Maybe he let me check it so he'd have proof. Anyway, so he goes home. I'm sitting there. And eventually, after a few hours, I'm like, I was going to make lunch. And at work, I have peanut butter and jelly and a knife. I couldn't clean the knife to make lunch.
Wow.
So eventually I get fed up and I go over back to the water cooler thing and I put my Nalgene under there and I push the button. And water comes out.
Usually when there's a water main break, you're not supposed to use the water that comes out for like 12 hours.
I know, but I said, fuck it, I'm using this.
You're going to die or whatever.
I know. Well, it was going through the filter in that little machine, right? So I was okay.
Is there a filter there?
Yeah, it's a machine that's just a filter and a compressor and a cooler. And the tap water comes into it through a little hose, and you push a button and the water comes out. That's all it is. So I push the button, the water comes out, and I'm like, But I didn't think the water was fixed. I just thought I got lucky and I got the last of the water or something like that. Even though that doesn't make sense since previously no water was coming out at all. I didn't care. So then I'm like, all right. And then I go back to my desk and there's, an email that says the water's fixed. I'm like, oh, that explains it. So I go to the sink and I clean off my knife, and the sink was pretty funny because when I put the sink on hot water, it came out normally, right? Because the hot water, must have been in a tank somewhere, waiting around. But The cold water was
Wait a minute. If that means you probably could have used the hot water to wash your knife.
I know. But the cold water was like put, 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 put. It was pretty funny. I like the cold water. It was making the sink jump up and down.
So did you have the classic problem whenever water starts up again of the infinitely flushing toilet?
Why are you stealing my thunder?
Because that happens. It's a common thing.
Why you gotta be doing that?
I was giving you the opportunity because
I was gonna bring it up in a second. That was next.
All of you out there understand how excited Scott was about the fact that the toilet wouldn't stop flushing.
Oh man, so our bathroom is notorious for being shitty. It's like the worst bathroom ever because on the second floor, so all these UPS guys use it and shit, and it sucks. But after I make my lunch and whatnot, I gotta finally pee. I finally drank water, so now I had to pee. I go in there and I hear a toilet flushing, and I pee, and I still hear this toilet flushing. I go over there, and this toilet is flushing. And it's not stopping. It just keeps flushing and flushing. And water keeps coming out and water keeps going down. It's like this permanent cyclone. And I'm like, oh man, look at it go.
Did you tell anyone?
No. I just let it go.
You probably should have told someone.
What do I care?
It's probably still going.
No, it's not because I went in later. It wasn't going anymore. But it was pretty funny to watch this toilet just keep going and going. It was like a perpetual toilet. And they say perpetual motion machines are not possible. Explain that toilet. It kept going.
So today, I had to listen to some guy tell me this story about how the water was out in his building.
And how the toilet was flushing infinitely.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Nah, I was looking at the anime news. It's anime day and, ostensibly manga comic day, but there's never news about manga, and there's never news
you know what the
about.
manga news is? This new manga was licensed. This new manga is going to be created.
Now, I often say, there's no anime news, but there's no freaking anime news today. There's nothing I care about to talk about.
There is nada.
So, I figured I should do some sort of geek bite, because it's been a while.
Or a geek back.
It's going to be a geek bite for me.
Okay.
Long time ago, I read the first Ghost in the Shell manga, and it was kind of epic and awesome, and I really enjoyed it.
It's something any manga fan should read, really. Any comic reading person should read that at some point, no matter if you like manga or not. You really, it's one of those necessities up there with like The Watchmen. It's not as good as Watchmen, but
it is really good.
It's really good. It's not Watchmen good, but it's a necessity to read it. You got to read it.
Scott had the issues of the second manga.
That's actually, funnily enough, I stopped buying comics when I was a kid, right? When the comic book store in the mall went out of business, right? And when I was a kid, I read X-Men and I read Spider-Man 2099, right? I stopped reading them, when the comic book store went out of business. I didn't read comics again until like around 2000, when I was in college. We went to the Borders, right? And we go to the Borders every once in a while to hang out, look at stuff, They had the meager manga shelf. Remember that manga shelf? And everything on it was amazing, even if it was crap.
Yeah, because
there was
I'd
so
never
little
seen
of
manga
it.
before.
Yeah, it was great. And we'd go to that manga shelf, and I almost bought some manga sometimes. I think I might have bought like Initial D #1 there and stuff like that. But they had a comic rack in the Borders. It was like a bigger than usual comic rack for Borders is. And on that comic rack, at one point when I was looking at the magazines, I happened to notice Ghost in the Shell 2 Man Machine Interface, issue #1. And I said, holy shit, look at that. So I got it. And then I went back the next month and got #2. I went back the next month and got #3. And then eventually my friend Ian got me going to the comic book store again. And now I have boxes coming every month.
Now,
Thank you, Shiro.
I avoided reading that, partly just because I hate issues. Like, comic books are so unpleasant to read that I just can't deal with it. I'm going to get some sort of compilation or trade, or I'm just not going to bother. There is no comic.
What if I took, like, all the issues, right, and I bound them together into a single book?
It's still that big floppy paper. It's not, if it was quality binding, maybe, but no.
Actually, for Ghost in the Shell 2, I kind of like the issue. I don't like the separation of the issues into the separate, things. I like it all to be together, but the bigger pages really help that manga because there's a lot of little things in it.
I didn't feel like I missed anything.
No, you probably didn't, but...
Well, anyway, here's the deal. Scott's been trying to get me to read this forever, and it's been in the pile along with a million
It's
other
Ghost in the
things.
Shell 2. Ghost in the Shell 1, epic must-read. So Ghost in the Shell 2, it's got to be epic must-read, right?
Now, Scott would never say anything beyond, yeah, you got to read this.
Well, I would say a few things. Like, we'd be watching, say, Solid State Society. Or,
And you're like, oh, this happens in that. Only a
well,
little
no,
different.
I say, wow, this reminds me a lot more of Ghost in the Shell 2 than it reminds me of Ghost in the Shell 1. Like, in Ghost in the Shell 2 is a lot more hacking stuff, and it's always with, the big hack circles and the gates and all that stuff. And they use those same visuals in some of the later, in Standalone Complex Second Gig and in Solid State Society. So when those visuals came up, I'd be like, this is a lot like Ghost in the Shell 2, man, machine interface.
So I finally read it.
You like that Tanuki, right?
The Tanuki was arguably
The best part?
the Tanuki and the wolf spirit. The way that was drawn, I thought was really cool.
That was okay, yeah.
Beyond that, I mean, I enjoyed it, but I read it and I felt like, all right, I'm reading this. I know what's going on. And I got to the end, and then I thought back, and I realized that I had no fucking idea what had happened that entire goddamn manga.
Yeah, explain the plot to me.
You know what? So a bunch of pigs died.
All right. What were the pigs doing? Why were they special?
Well, arguably they were being used for some nefarious purposes, but by whom?
Well, what were they supposed to be used for?
Organs.
And what were they being used
brains,
for?
but not organ brains.
Brains.
But that is so not the plot.
Nope.
But I don't. There's a point at which I could have just stopped reading and I would have had the same understanding of the manga as if I'd continued reading. I got to the end and realized that the second half of the manga, not only did I not know what happened, but I suddenly realized, like, wait a minute, no. Her name is Kusanagi, not Aramaki. Why didn't I notice that before? And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. What the? Oh, God damn it. It's one of those things. Shiro! I defy you to tell me what the fuck happened in Ghost in the Shell 2.
I could actually sort of piece it together, but you know how many times I've read it?
7.
More than 4, at least.
I mean,
right?
The thing is, basically, I got to the end and I'm like, wow, that was really profound. And then I realized that everything I was thinking about that was profound was not something that I had read in the manga, but something I was thinking about because of Ghost in the Shell.
I think the thing about Ghost in the Shell 2, Man-Machine Interface, the manga, right? Because, well, I guess it's only a manga, is that there is a plot, a literal plot.
Yes,
and
but
you can get it by reading extra carefully and extra slowly and multiple times and extra painfully. But that plot is not really the point, and it doesn't matter.
What I think the point of Ghost in the Shell 2, I think there are a lot of points. I think basically it was Shiro just kind of getting his mind onto paper, and Ghost in the Shell just happened to be the way he was doing that.
Yeah.
And it was basically just him thinking about, well, what if this and what if this? Kind of like speculative fiction, but at the same time, Shiro-tastic.
Yeah. Basically, each page, each scene, each action is just something to like work your brain, and the plot suffers. The coherency of the plot suffers as a result of extreme imagery.
Yes, I mean there was a point at which I think she was in a game, but maybe not, and I pretty much lost track of the plot from that point on.
Yeah, when she switches into like using like decots.
I was fine with the decots until I couldn't figure out if she was in a decot or in the real world, or if the decot was in the real world.
And maybe the point is to get your brain to do that, or maybe it's just Shiro and he's just a crazy nut job.
Yeah, I mean,
or maybe both.
My real idea is that one of the ideas Shiro was trying to get across is that the world that the entity that is arguably known as the Major lives in now and exists in is so utterly different and so much faster paced than the real world that, like, every now and then it kind of cuts out of following the main character around and just shows you like humans doing things. And the humans are the humans are moving so slowly and doing so little compared to what she does in like 2 minutes but beyond that, I don't know what happened. Something with a tree at the end and something. I don't even know who was hacking the pigs, if there even were any e-thugs.
Yep, something like that. Okay.
I don't get it. I suggest you read it, however.
You read it again, maybe.
I think what really got me about it, I mean, I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, but the fact that Shiro has footnotes, and it's not like, well, here's a footnote to explain this, and here's a footnote to explain this.
There's one footnote because early in the manga, there's like these 2 flying machines, right? And he basically puts a footnote like, yeah, I know these flying machines are impossible because of blah. I just drew them this way because it's better. Sorry. It's like, what? You're talking about what's possible and impossible in your made-up future?
Oh, he goes well beyond that. I think my favorite footnote is on a random page. And I swear to you that this footnote has nothing to do with what is happening on that page or any page anywhere near it. He just has a random footnote talking about how the U.S. is upgrading its military. Now maybe Japan should do the same.
Yeah, military fanboy for sure.
Shiro, I gotta hand it to you, man. That was some epic manga right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So when someone says Shiro-tastic and you're not quite sure what that means,
I think Ghost in the Shell, the second manga, epitomizes what Shiro-tasm is.
I think it is the second most Shiro-tastic. If I'm to understand correctly, Orion is the most Shiro-tastic.
All right. Well, I have never in any way engaged with Orion.
Nor have I, but I know better.
So as far as I have experienced, as far as someone who would even consider anything Shiro believes to be a valid philosophy could believe to be true, that was the most Shiro-tastic thing I've ever witnessed.
All right, you ready?
I think we're ready. That's the best I could come up with tonight.
I was just, looking around because I've been watching the Galaxy Express 39 TV show recently because someone's fan subbing it so nicely, but they're fan subbing it too slowly.
Well, Scott has this thing. It's like whenever he's tired, like when I'm tired, I go to bed. Or maybe I masturbate or something. I don't know. But when Scott's tired, he'll put on some Leiji Matsumoto, like old melodramatic sci-fi.
Leiji Matsumoto's anime are amazing, all of them. But
Like,
they only work
for Scott
when it's dark and when it's late at night and when it's quiet. That's the only time they work. And when that's true, they work amazingly.
If you're Scott.
And if you're tired, they work even better.
I think you're confusing Leiji Matsumoto with Space Ghost.
Well, I think part of what it was is when I was, young and I first discovered Leiji Matsumoto, right? It was on the Sci-Fi Channel. It was late at night on Anime Week on the Sci-Fi Channel.
And you watched Galaxy Express?
I watched the Galaxy Express 39 movie dubbed, and then the second Galaxy Express 39 movie the next day, also dubbed, late at night in the dark on the couch in my living room alone. And that sort of... it really worked on me. That was like more than that was like really when I started super animeing that week of anime, right? Because it was like Fatal Fury 2, Galaxy Express 2, and then something else shitty that I don't even remember.
Like a Sean or something.
I don't remember. It was something terrible. No, I think it was actually only 4 days because then I think Godzilla started, which is also awesome. By the way, Godzilla vs. Mothra is the best Godzilla movie.
Hands down.
Hands down. No one can say anything else. You're all wrong.
Well, I think it comes down to the fact that Mothra adds like 10 to the score of any Godzilla movie.
Yeah, and while Ghidorah is the best of all the monsters, in coolness and lookingness, because he's like a Hydra with 3 heads, Mothra is still better, so whatever. Anyway, so that was my experience with that, and that more than any other anime I watched that week was like the double awesomes. So every time I watch even other Leiji Matsumoto things like Harlocks and things like that, I always try to go for the same feeling, and it always works. I don't know, it always works on me. It's always great.
The result is whenever we have the crew over and we're ready to, the night's winding down, we're about to maybe all retire for the evening or maybe play one last game or something, Scott always suggests that we watch some sort of, not necessarily Leiji Matsumoto, but pretty much either that or A Night on the Galactic Railroad.
Yeah, well, Night on Galactic Railroad, Galaxy Express, there's a link.
Yes, the problem is one of them is good and one of them is boring.
Well, he based the Galaxy Express off of the, his idea to have trains in space was because of the novel of Night on the Galactic Railroad. But anyway.
Oh, yeah, that movie is so boring.
Anyway, so watching anime again, right, because I'm watching Galaxy Express TV show, I realized I can watch like 5+ anime episodes a day if I watch them on the train. So I was thinking, hey, I'm going to actually go back now. I'm going to watch that Eva. I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to watch that Escaflowne. I'm going to do it. And we're going to make the show, right?
I've been waiting for this day for a long time because I'm itching to talk about Escaflowne. That's still to this day one of my top 3. That is one of the best anime ever made.
Right, so we're going to do those, right? As soon as I get around. And they're only 26 episodes, so I could probably watch them in a week.
Yeah.
Right? So anyway, realizing that, I said, hey, I got to watch the Cowboy Bebop. I've seen it like 5 times. I'm going to see it 7 times. So I'm like, I wonder if I can buy it. And, it was available. First, they made it available on the original DVDs. Well, VHS, then DVDs. The VHSs are mad expensive because there's like 2 episodes of tape. The DVDs are mad expensive, because there were a whole bunch of them. And the box set was like $100-something. And today, if you want that original box set, it's still a lot of money. Then they came out with like these best sessions, which was like a little set that had like the quote best episodes or the most important episodes.
That seems really kind of silly though, because you got to watch Cowboy Bebop all the way through in order.
Right, it had like the most
or it loses everything.
Yeah, it was like this little set of like a couple DVDs or one or two. I'm not exactly sure, but like the most important episodes. Then they were putting out Cowboy Bebop Remix, which was 6 separate DVDs that had the audio remastered, the 5.1 surround sound. Now, they're doing Anime Legends Cowboy Bebop Remix. So it's all those remix DVDs, all 6 of them in one box on Amazon for $37.49.
Not bad.
Will be released on February 5th. This is my news here, is that if you have never seen Cowboy Bebop, if you don't own it all, if you have seen it, it doesn't matter. Now is the time to buy all of Cowboy Bebop for $37.49.
Unarguably the greatest anime ever.
That is I will go farther than that. I will say that is the greatest value you could possibly get in anime ever.
How about
ever existed.
Not necessarily, however, in all of entertainment, because we paid 50 cents to see the Powerpuff Girls movie.
Yes, but this is the best dollar per awesome you can get in terms of purchasing anime on DVDs that has ever existed in the history of the world and probably will for quite some time.
Plus, I mean, if you've
Unless,
seen...
someone gives you something like, for free. But we're talking about like a deal at a store, not a deal.
What, not that that epic box set that we saw for sale?
No. All right, so this got me thinking, right? You look, Cowboy Bebop anime is, Bandai, I guess this is Bandai Entertainment, right? They're doing Anime Legends. So that must be their new sort of like labeling of their awesome box sets and things like that, of the let's take old anime, re-release them on new DVDs and sell them for less money. They're going to call it Anime Legends. So I go to Right Stuff and I search for Anime Legends and I get a whole bunch of stuff, but I don't care about most of it because some of it's not, box sets, some of it's other things. So I'm looking for the thin pack collection. So I type in, Anime Legends Complete Collection. You ready for the list here? These are all excellent values in anime that I recommend. Ready? Agent Aika? No, I don't recommend that. RJ, no, I don't recommend that either. Here we go. Big O. $36.
Oh, man.
But that's just season 1. It's $36 also for season 2.
They're both worth it. Big O 1 is one of the better giant robot shows ever. Big O 2 is Ava done better.
That's not a very good value because you're paying as much as you are for 26 episodes of Cowboy Bebop for 13 episodes of Big O. But Big O's so good, and this is probably still the cheapest way to get it if you can't get the old bricks. So Big O, Blue Sub 6 Complete Collection. Not bad. Crest of the Stars. Escaflowne, $45.
That is well worth it.
Check this out. This pisses me off because I bought this individually disc by disc. Gundam Seed. The first 25 episodes for $45 and then the second 25 episodes for $38.
Now, I want to say one thing real quick about Gundam Seed. If you don't like Gundam shows, well, one, I hate you. But so if you haven't seen a Gundam show before, or if you just don't think you'll like Gundam shows or robot shows,
or you're prejudiced against, or you have misconceptions, if you've never watched one and you have some sort of prejudice about what you think they're like, or if you've seen one and maybe you saw the wrong one, a G Gundam, and you think you know what they're like, and if you haven't seen Gundam Seed, or you haven't watched like Zeta Gundam or the original Gundam, you really don't know Gundam. A lot of people think they know it and don't like it, or think they know it and do like it, but they really don't know it. Buy this.
Yeah, seriously. Because
I paid a lot more for this, and I'm not sad. Gundam Wing DVD Collection 1, so I assume there's going to be a 2.
I'll say one thing. The dub is not as good as you thought it was.
Yeah.
As a kid.
Let's see. No good. Wolf's Rain, I guess.
I never saw the end of that because everyone said it was terrible.
Saber Marionette J Complete Collection. Scrap Princess Complete Collection.
Scrap Princess is kind of worth watching.
Witch Hunter Robin Complete Collection.
Are you just going to name all these? Or are you just going to say
No,
go to the website?
I'm skipping a lot of them. I didn't mention Please Teacher. Or Please Twins.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of these. And if you're looking for good deals in anime, because back in the day, Bandai Entertainment pretty much licensed all the good stuff. And they still resell it. They're still publishing it. And you can get it for real cheap now. So go for it.
Things of the day. If you ever wondered how a bobbin works, this is making the rounds on the internet. Here you go. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. Sewing machines. It's cool. All right, so if you, I know this is sort of a video game thing, but whatever. The anime people's like the Phoenix, right? if you've never played the Phoenix Wright and you're not sure, or maybe you have a misconception about it like you do about Gundam, they've made a Flash application. Capcom has made an official Flash application that it's Ace Attorney Apollo Justice mock trial version. You can go with your web browser and play a bit of Phoenix Wright action, and you'll see what it's like and decide if you like it or not.
All right.
And you can embed it in your website.
All right. So you might be shocked, you might be amazed, but we have watched some new and new-ish anime.
Newer than Galaxy Express.
That's for sure. We got, I think, 2 shows from the current season-ish, and then one somewhat older show that we watched an episode. I think we got something to say.
Yeah, we got some good stuff to say. All right, so which one of these you want to go from like worst? Well, there's one bad one and 2 good ones. So let's do the bad one.
All right, we can get this done quick. This show is called Persona-Trinity Soul.
Yeah, so the only good thing about this show is that our favorite voice actor in the known universe, Takahito Koyasu, plays one of the somewhat major characters.
But he's so off his game.
Yeah, but he doesn't sound like when he first talked, I was like, that sounds like Koyasu. But I was like, but I'm not 100% sure. It sounds like a Koyasu imitator. But no, it's really him, so he must be off his game.
Now,
there's something not right about it.
The show's being directed by some guy who is known for jack all.
Great.
And honestly, the show's pretty bad, but it's not bad enough to make fun of. It's just really not entertaining. The only thing it's got going is that basically the plot, as far as you can tell from the first episode, is people have souls. Those souls are also giant robots, and people have psychic giant robot battles, and that's it.
That's pretty much all that's going on in the show. I mean, it's like these 2 siblings, and like they don't have a home, and they have to go back to live with their brother or something. And
I think this show
because their lives suck,
kind of exemplifies everything that's wrong with a lot of anime that comes out these days. Because this show reminds me a lot of several other shows I've watched in recent memory, where the first episode, like the character designs are kind of generic, the animation's kind of sterile and boring. They always introduce characters and give all this stuff about them, but they also introduce some central mystery. And they pretty much ignore that mystery or don't tell you enough to know anything about it, but they also don't give you enough to care about the characters. And they kind of jump in the middle of something that you don't care about, and they don't go anywhere with it.
Yeah, I think the primary problem with the show is that they toss you into it, right? They first, it's at that classic anime beginning of the first episode thing where they show you some mysterious like government or military group doing something mysterious, and then a strange event occurring or something like that. And then they cut and they give you the opener, and then they throw you to the main characters, and then you know that whatever's going to happen to them is going to relate to that mysterious thing they showed you 30 seconds of at the beginning.
And apparently the plot involves people being turned inside out by something called reverse.
Yeah.
It's just, this show does not look like it has any potential to be in any way entertaining. It's so boring.
I think pretty much the major problem with the show is that there's no reason to care about anything. It's like people are being reversed. Okay.
I still crack up.
It's not even like, there's some clues and now I can start thinking about a mystery. It's like, no, just people are being reversed. All right. And I'm supposed to wonder about why?
And
just
pretty much
from that alone?
Every conversation a character has just goes nowhere and you don't care. And they always refer to...
And no one... I think it's another problem. A lot of anime do this. No one has any direct conversations. Everyone just sort of thinks a lot of things, but no one says anything to anyone. People just kind of look at each other and then walk around.
And they say things like offhand comments that reference things we don't know about, like, brother, if only blah.
Or that guy, blah, blah, blah. Which guy are you talking about? You're purposely saying that guy so we don't know which guy you're talking about, And there's just... It's not where it was just the first episode was so painful I couldn't continue. I think the music was okay though.
Yeah, but the opener didn't really fit. It was one of those generic openers. It's just this show's got nothing.
No, you can skip Persona Trinity Soul, even though it's kind of sad because it's one of the few shows I've seen in recent years. It's like the percentage of moe shows to non-moe shows is getting pretty off. There's a lot more moe shows going on, or at least shows with moe elements, if not full-on moe shows. And it's kind of sad that one of the non-moe shows is shitty.
So don't even bother with this show. It's not good.
Yep, skip it.
So there's another show we checked out, and this one has a lot of promise. However, you have to be a certain kind of anime fan to enjoy a show like this.
And you have to be in the right situation and the right mood to enjoy the show. Now, this show's actually from 2007, and it ran from April to September, 24 episodes.
So, lovely complex.
That might sound like a bad moe show, maybe a harem show of some sort, something like that. But it's actually one of those cute, funny shows. There aren't too many shows in this category. It's sort of like Karakano, sort of
There's
like
some Koto-cha in there.
sort of like Koto-cha, sort of like Haniori Dango. It's one of those sort of shows. It's a comedic high school shoujo thing, and it's really not too bad. I mean, it's not something I would go out and watch a whole lot of, like diligently. But if I'm in sort of a silly mood and I need me some laughs, or maybe if I'm at an anime club and I want to get everyone riled up, this is the medicine.
There hasn't been a
doctor
show
ordered.
like this in a long time. This show fills the Koto-cha hole. Because if you want that kind of show, you got to go to the old stuff, or you can come to this show right here. There's a lot of manzai going on, which I'm a big fan of.
I'm a big fan of that manzai action.
The plot is pretty simple. There's a girl who's really tall, and there's a guy who's really short, and they hate each other, but they have a lot in common.
They have a hell of a lot in common. And they're sort of like friends and enemies at the same time. Like they hang out with each other, and they team up, but also they hate each other. And so like right? And you can tell that they're supposed to end up together, but it's like something they wouldn't even think of. It's one of those kind of situations. It's sort of a cliche situation, and it's a little obvious, right? And what's gonna happen in the episodes is always sort of obvious, because it's a shallow high school comedic romance plot, more heavy on the comedy than on the romance, and that's not the point. The point is that the jokes that actually go on during the show are actually kind of funny and endearing, and it's like, oh, but then it's like, oh, lols, epic lols, and they actually kind of act like normal people, and they make real world kind of jokes, and it's just silly and fun. And then occasionally, there's crazy slapstick stuff too, like people getting hit over the head.
Yeah, definitely a child's toy kind of vibe going on there. Also, the main character kind of reminds me of Wakaba.
Yeah, kind of.
Only much more gruff and maybe a little kansai.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Oh, I didn't even realize this is directed by Konosuke Uda.
Who's that?
He also directed Galaxy Express 999 Eternal Fantasy.
Oh, that's not...
And the Sailor Moon Super S movie. Clearly the best of the Sailor Moon movies. By best, I mean worst.
Yeah. I mean, the show has some other stuff going on in it, too. There's like, there's some school stuff. They actually pay attention to what's going on in school a little bit,
I think what really makes the show stand out is it's the opposite of Persona Trinity Soul, in that the character designs have character, and just the way they talk and interact and the way everything's done, there's enough going on that gives the show charm that just some of these other newer kind of sterile shows just don't have.
Yeah, it is the exact opposite of Persona Trinity Soul in a way, because it doesn't really have much of a plot to speak of. The episode we watched, or a couple episodes we watched, what was going to happen was so contrived, cliche, and obvious. Nothing might as well have happened. But, the characters, you care about them. Each character is really characterized. Yeah, and they interact with each other in interesting, or at least funny ways quite often. That's pretty much the whole show.
And the show is it's stylized. The way it's drawn and the way everything is put together it stands out from all the other anime coming out lately.
Yeah, well, at least it has a lot of bright colors, so it can kind of hurt your eyes sometimes. But other than that,
it's not those moe colors though. It's actual bright colors.
Yep.
Not those like faded moe girl hair color, whatever.
No, it's actually bright colors, like, super gals, that kind of color.
Now, last and certainly not least, a lot of people have been talking about this show, and I was a little leery, but...
I was also a little bit leery.
I heard enough good buzz, and especially once I heard what the plot nominally was, I kind of am excited about seeing more of this show.
Maybe. So, the show is called Spice and Wolf, right? And at first, I was like, uh-oh, this is going to be not a furry show for furries, right? Because the picture you see when you look for this show is like a girl with ears and a tail, and you think there's going to be big-time moe furry action. That's what I expected to see, but we watched it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I expected it to be Utawareru Mono 2.
And it wasn't.
Well, the thing is, Then I was told the plot, and it seems like it's definitely set in a European Middle Ages kind of, monotheism is kind of making its rounds, and the old gods are being forgotten, and this wolf
It's
goddess.
the plot of the final finished chapter of Phoenix. It's the same plot.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But basically, this wolf goddess is her time has passed. The people no longer need her, so she is going to leave and travel to the lands in the north, and she needs help. So she kind of shanghais this poor merchant who's just passing through town into taking her north.
Yep.
And I'm not sure exactly where they're going to go with this. I've only seen one episode, but this show, if they go in any of the directions that I think it might go in, and there's 2 or 3 directions it could go in where I would be pleased, this show's actually got a lot of potential.
Yeah, it definitely. The only thing, I don't like the show 100%. I mean, that merchant main character guy, I really kind of don't like him so much. Like, he seems kind of bland. I wish he was more, like, when I first saw him, like, I guess this might be a problem, I imagined him being a lot like Ginkgo from Mushishi.
Because he kind of looks like him.
Kind of looks like him a little bit. And if he was, like, that kind of character, I think the show would be a lot more awesome, But he seems kind of just like a normal kind of merchant. Like, he's just like a normal average dude, and the way he acts is sort of bland. I really don't care about him that much. But other than that, like, what goes on in the show and the plot and the style is all really high quality.
See, I like him partly because the way, whenever there's this sort of, all right, there's a magical girl something, and she meets a guy, and there's the trope of how that would play out in anime. And you can see what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And in the show, it doesn't really turn out that way. He reacts more like a reasonable person would react, and she reacts in a completely unexpected way.
Yeah. I guess that's because, the way they've made the main character guy, what's his name? Let me look for it.
Kraft Lawrence.
Kraft Lawrence. The way Kraft Lawrence is he's such a normal merchant. He's just like, hey, what's up? I'm a merchant. How you doing? He talks.
And he's got his own drama. There's a girl who likes him, but he has problems with that because she's kind of young and blah, 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 blah. And he's got his business to take care of.
Yeah, but I mean, he sees this, like, wolf god, and he's like, you're not a wolf god. Prove you're the wolf god. Oh, shit, you proved that you're the wolf god. Oh, my God.
See, I think that's the point that pushed the show over the line, because the show is, serious. But
that was the funniest joke in the whole show. Oh, my God.
There's a little bit of a joke.
It's not a comedy show, but that was a funny bit.
It was one of those kind of jokes that is in the context of the show. Like, a character makes a joke.
It was sort of an Admiral Pellew joke, if you will.
It very much was a Pellew. Like, oh, you think that's a good idea? You really think that's a good... Well, you're right. It is a good idea.
No, but basically there's this part where he's like, well, prove you're the wolf god. And she's like, oh, you want me to transform into my real form, huh?
And he's like, yes, transform into your real wolf
She's like,
form.
are you sure? He's like, yes.
Well,
are you sure no matter what? Yes, I'm sure 100% no matter what.
She's like, well, transforming like that, there's always a cost. I have to enact a price in order to do that.
He's like, all right.
What's the price? And she's like, blood. And before he's like, and then she's like, or a very small amount of wheat.
He's like, oh, use the wheat, please.
You sure? Yes.
Yes. Please use the wheat.
But that's not the only fun. The show is, I guess, the reason I think these two shows, regardless of how good they might end up actually being or not being, that Lovely Complex and Spice and Wolf, as opposed to the vast majority of the new anime out there that I've seen in the last few years, they don't fall into the stereotypes immediately, and the characters and the designs and just the way they play out they have heart, they have charm, they have something a little bit fresh. And shows like Persona Trinity are just so sterile and boring and bland, and not boring in the good way like Gasuraki, but boring in the bad way like Persona Trinity.
Yeah, I mean, in Lovely Complex, I care about the characters, and if Spice and Wolf, I really care about the plot that's going on there. And I guess I care about the characters a little bit in Spice and Wolf, and the plot of Lovely Complex, not at all, because there isn't one. But
the only problem with Spice and Wolf is that she totally looks like a fox and not a wolf. But
that's for sure.
I think that's just because of the coloring, because she's a wolf goddess, but she's the protector of the harvest, so she's kind of supposed to be wheat, grain, that sort of thing.
Yeah. But anyway, Yeah, these aren't like the best shows ever by any means, but if you're looking for the new Animes, here's two that, can serve two different purposes. One for the serious kind of anime watching times, and one for the hilarious slapstick anime watching times.
You know what?
And one for the torturing your friends with incredibly boring anime times.
Or if you have bad taste.
Or if you have bad taste, yeah.
Or if you really, really have already seen every show that involves things that may or may not be robot-like fighting, because this is another one of those generic shows.
Yeah, I guess if you like, if a show can be terrible in absolutely every way, a show can be terrible, but psychic robots is enough for you, then psychic robots and Persona Trinity Soul is what you're gonna get.
If you like a show where the main character obviously has the special extra robot,
which is a sword.
Yes, because the sword is always better than a gun.
Giant sword beats everything. Don't you know that?
But these other two shows, particularly Spice and Wolf, it's the same level of Scrap Princess, I would say.
I'd say pretty much exactly. Spice and Wolf and Scrap Princess are like right in line, like bam.
They're like a solid A-, B+ anime.
Yeah, something like that. They're the same kind of show, same genre. You like one, you like the other.
And also, I will admit, Horo, the wolf goddess, is really, really freaking cute. But,
not really.
I think she is.
She's kind of normal anime girl cute levels.
Well, one, I mean, the ears. The ears make her cute.
I think that's just because you're a furry.
What can I say? I like fox ears and that sort of thing. But what makes her cute is that I kind of expected this show to go in a bad moe kind of protect me, big brother, that kind of show. But the wolf goddess is she acts the way you would expect a minor god or a deity to act, in that she's kind of sarcastic and really powerful.
Yeah,
and
she definitely
she doesn't take any crap.
I do think that helps the show a lot, and what prevents me from being turned off by the girl with ears and a tail is that the girl with ears and a tail is the only person with ears and a tail, and everyone else is normal. And she doesn't act like some moe whatever. She acts like, the character should act. It just, ears and a tail thrown in for the fanboys.
She's more, I don't know, ephemeral or fairy or pixie-like in terms of temperament and that sort of thing. And I think that, plus the fact that the plot looks like it might go toward the lines of, the old ways and the new ways.
I definitely think the plot is definitely heading towards some sort of medieval war feudalism kind of plot going on there, historical something with a little bit of supernatural thrown on top there.
And that's I guess I've had an itch for that sort of thing for a long time.
It's gonna be like the Pope versus some feudal lords with some magic on one side.
I think that's why Claymore appealed to me so much when I first started watching.
I think it's definitely got some Claymore-ishness going on in there, in the way the medieval world is portrayed. It's sort of like the way the towns and the villages and the normal people living in them. There's the people in the Claymore towns are more sad, and the people in the Spice and Wolf town are happier. But
if anything, the Claymore universe, as far as I can tell, is basically the same as the universe in Simon's Quest. Everything sucks, it's always dark, and everywhere you go, people die constantly.
That's pretty accurate, yeah.
Of course, much like the Middle Ages.
We should, maybe when that Claymore comes out on DVD, if it's not already, we can watch that action.
Yeah, but I want to finish Ergo Proxy first, because I really want to see the end of that.
I don't know, did the Out of Business Geneon ever finish that, or the Mostly Out of Business Geneon ever finish that?
I'm sure I will find a way to see the rest of that one way or another.
I'm sure. It can't be impossible.
But yeah, Spice and Wolf, worth watching. Lovely Complex, worth watching. Persona Trinity.
Pretend it doesn't exist, and you'll be better off.
Watch Darker Than Black first, because of those kinds of shows, I think that one has more potential than this.
Yeah, we only watched like 1 or 2 episodes of that one.
And it has a lot more potential than this.
Yeah.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.